back at the major events that reshaped Europe after the end of the Cold War. After 45 years of division, East and West Germany were finally reunited, bringing an end to one of the most important conflicts of the 20th century. For millions of people, reunification symbolized hope, freedom, and a fresh start for Europe. But the transition also created serious challenges. Germany now faced the difficult task of combining two very different systems into one unified nation. East Germany had operated under a communist economy, while West Germany followed capitalism. Rebuilding the East required huge investments, and many Germans experienced higher taxes as the country worked to modernize and strengthen its economy. At the same time, social tensions began to grow. Concerns increased over the return of extremist ideas connected to Nazi ideology, leading to rising racism and discrimination, especially against foreign workers. The fall of the Berlin Wall also triggered major changes beyond Germany. Soon after, the Soviet Union collapsed. This ended decades of communist control in Eastern Europe. Russia struggled with economic problems and lost much of its global influence during the 1990s. In recent years, however, under President Vladimir Putin, Russia has worked to restore its power and influence in the world stage. Meanwhile, Europe itself was changing rapidly. The European Economic Community expanded into the European Union, also known as the EU. The organization encouraged cooperation by allowing the free movement of goods, workers, and services between member countries. Many nations also adopted a shared currency, the euro, strengthening economic ties across Europe. Today, the EU remains one of the world's largest economic powers. However, it has also faced major challenges. During the 2009 global financial crisis, countries such as Spain and Greece struggled with the debt and required financial bailouts from the EU, leading to economic hardship and public unrest. More recently, the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union in 2021 in a move known as Brexit. The long-term effects of that decision are still being felt across Europe today. Overall, the end of the Cold War did far more than change political borders. It reshaped economies, governments, and international relationships around the world, effects that continue to influence global events even today. After witnessing the devastation caused by years of conflict, European nations began searching for ways to prevent another major war. Leaders believed that the cooperation between countries would create greater stability and peace across the continent. This idea first led to the formation of the European Economic Community, which later expanded into what we now know as the European Union. The EU was built on the idea of economic interdependence. This meant countries depend on one another for trade, jobs, and resources. Supporters believed that nations connected economically would be far less likely to go to war. Today, the EU allows for the free movement of goods, services, capital, and labor between member countries. This means businesses can trade more easily and citizens can live and work across different parts of Europe. Membership in the EU has also brought major economic benefits. Member nations gain access to one of the largest economies in the world, helping increase trade, economic growth, and income levels. 19 countries also share a common currency, the euro, which simplifies trade and travel throughout Europe. The European Union has also played an important role during times of economic crisis, providing financial support to struggling member nations. Overall, the EU remains a major example of how international cooperation can promote economic growth, political stability, and long-term peace.
After the Cold War ended in 1991, many countries faced major challenges as they tried to rebuild, gain independence, or adjust to new governments and economies. While the Cold War was over, the effects continued to impact millions of people. Countries like Germany, Russia, Ukraine, and Yugoslavia all experienced different struggles during this time. In Germany, the country reunited after being divided into East and West Germany for decades. East Germany had a difficult transformation from a communist economy to a marketing economy. Many businesses closed, unemployment increased, and people struggled to adjust to the new system. At the same time, West Germany had to pay higher taxes to help rebuild the East. Germany's reuniting also caused social tensions because people from East and West Germany had lived very different lives for many years. Russia also faced serious problems after the collapse of the Soviet Union. The economy struggled, inflation increased, and many people lost their jobs and savings. Russia also lost some of its power and influence in the world affairs during parts of the 1990s and early 2000s. The government had to deal with political instability while trying to rebuild the country. In Ukraine, independence brought economic hardship and political unrest. Different groups disagreed what the future of the country would look like, which eventually led to conflict and civil wars in some regions. Many people faced uncertainty and hardship during this period. Finally, Yugoslavia broke apart into several independent countries. This breakup led to war and violence and ethnic conflicts throughout the region. Many cities and communities were damaged. Countries struggled economically as they tried to rebuild after years of fighting. Overall, the end of the Cold War brought freedom and independence to many places, but it also created economic struggles, political instability, and social conflict that lasted for years.
Ukraine is the second largest country in Europe, known historically as the breadbasket. Because of its rich soil and strong agriculture production, for years it has been an important region both economically and politically. In 2014, Ukraine experienced major political unrest. Large street protests broke out, eventually leading to the collapse of pro-Russian government. After the shift in power, tensions escalated quickly. A region of Ukraine was separated and then annexed by Russia, which sparked widespread international opposition. At a similar time, there was a conflict spread to eastern Ukraine, where Russia backed forces and began fighting against Ukraine troops. Ukraine attempted to regain control of these areas, but the fighting became violent and prolonged. During this conflict, a civilian airplane was shot down and killed over 300 people. This event drew global attention and increased tensions even further. For the next several years, the situation remained unstable, with ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine and strained relations between Russia and the rest of the world. Then in February 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion on Ukraine. The Russian president had threatened such actions for years, and the invasion marked a major escalation. His goals were widely seen as an attempt to spread Russian influence and power. The invasion shocked the world. Putin also made repeated references to nuclear weapons, raising fears of a much larger and more dangerous conflict. While many countries condemned Russia and provided Ukraine with support, no foreign troops were directly developed to fight alongside Ukraine, especially in the earlier months of the war. Overall, the conflict has had a major global impact, increasing political tensions and raising concerns about international security.
Good evening, and welcome to the World News Tonight. Tonight we will examine the breakup of Yugoslavia during 1990s, a series of conflicts that reshaped the Balkans and created several new nations. After the death of Yugoslav leader Josip Broz Tito in 1980, economic troubles and rising nationalism increased tensions between countries' many ethnic groups, including Serbs, Croats, Bosniaks, and Albanians. In 1991, Slovenia and Croatia declared independence, sparking war as Yugoslav forces attempted to prevent the breakup. Fighting soon spread to Bosnia and Herzegovina, where brutal civil war began in 1992. The Bosnia War became one of Europe's deadliest conflicts since World War II. In 1995, more than 8,000 Bosniak Muslim men and boys were killed in Siberian massacre, later ruled by genocide by the international courts. As violence escalated, United Nations and North Atlantic Treaty Organization became involved. NATO launched airstrikes in 1995, helping lead to the Dayton Agreement, which ended the Bosnian War. Later in that decade, conflict erupted in Kosovo between Serbian forces and ethnic Albanian separatists. NATO again intervened with airstrikes in 1999. During the Kosovo War,
By the end of the 1990s, Yugoslavia had collapsed into several independent countries, including Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, and Herzegovina, and others. The wars left deep scars across the region and remain a reminder of how ethnic tensions and political instability can lead to devastating conflict. Thank you very much.